Good evening, everyone. We are back. It is that time of the year, long since prophesied. The Rings of Power Season 2 it's up. 3 whole episodes of it. Now, today's review is just going to be episode 1. There was no way, I think we both agreed, there was no way that we could get all 3 watched today, let alone take notes on all 3 episodes. I'll pass over to you in just a second, but you have written an incredible amount of notes just on this one episode, as have I. They're all ready to go right here, and we're going to be talking about it. So this is going to be completely spoiler-filled, but we are just going to be talking about episode 1 purely for the fact neither of us have watched episode 2 and 3 yet. So that review will be coming in 2 days' time on Saturday, so times will be up on my channel and everything once we sort that out. I do want to apologize for the communication that I've had on my channel. So yesterday I said, yeah, we'll be streaming every Friday. Don't worry about it. Friday at 9:30. And then as soon as I posted that, I thought, I'm at the cinema tomorrow night watching Attack of the Clones, and I've got to do a review on that tomorrow night. So then I messaged you and was just like, can we throw something together tonight? Can we get at least one episode out there? And thank you for agreeing to join me on this. I need to introduce you in case people haven't been following the Rings of Power content so far. I'm delighted to be joined with Everything in Middle-earth, who has been my partner in crime on all of the Rings of Power stuff. We covered season 1 together, which was fantastic. And we've been covering a lot of the news in the lead up to this, the various trailers and whatnot, as well as War of the Rohirrim. It really is all Middle-earth related content this year, which is fun. It's great. It allows us to collaborate together, which is always wonderful. However, the quality of these adaptations of Tolkien's work, that might be another thing. But how are you doing, man? How's things?
Good. Slightly depressed after watching that episode. I'd like us to do it at some point a minute silence for a certain character because he passed.
He did.
And he really upset me. I'm doing great, mate. It was somewhat funny watching this episode because I half pictured the pain of me going through it, and then it made me laugh thinking about what you're going through when watching it. So I was thinking, oh, that is really awful, but it's going to be funny to talk about it. But it's been good. We've got plenty of Middle-earth content that we've been covering. We've been proper filled up this year for Middle-earth content, and it's amazing to be collaborating with you again.
Yeah, it's always good stuff. I think you mentioned that when we did season 1, it was almost like therapy. We're in together, shared pain, getting through this, and there might be a bit of hate watching in there, but genuinely, watching this again, I'm like, oh, we're back. Okay, here we go. And it is it's so inept that it's kind of weirdly entertaining to watch in some way from scene to scene. It's like, what nonsensical thing's going to rear its ugly head in the very next scene? And turns out there's a lot of it. We've got a few comments already. We've got Tar Elenian Moranway, who says hello. And Carl, who says, a Lord of the Rings YouTuber is never late, nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to. Yeah, we both just finished work barely before this stream. We're absolute champions for jumping on when we did. So apologies for the lateness of the stream, but we're here and we're ready to talk about it. So spoiler warning, you have been warned. I've already mentioned that already because we're just going to pretty much go, I'm assuming, scene to scene from this one. So, of course, this is season 2, episode 1, Elven Kings Under the Sky. And as soon as I saw that title, I was like, don't try and bring Tolkien's words into this. You are Tolkien in name only and vague relation to it, because beyond that, this hasn't got anything to do with the wider writings. And that's pretty much confirmed from our opening scene. An opening scene, by the way. Imagine how much information is conveyed in the Fellowship of the Ring in that prologue scene.
Yeah.
It's absolutely wonderful. Was it 7 minutes, 7.5 minutes, something like that? And it goes through the entire history of the Ring and the Battle of the Last Alliance, falling into the hands of Smeagol, and then Bilbo finding the ring. Covers a lot of ground in a very efficient amount of time, while still being kind of like an exposition dump and explaining the rules of this land. This opening scene was 22 minutes long and felt every minute of that. I don't feel like this opening scene needed to be that long. I really don't.
Oh, no, I mean, it's pretty much conveyed all the information that we already know. Mm-hmm. That there was a fight between Adar and Sauron. We already know that. he somehow got in with the Southlands, and then he became Halbrand. It wasn't information that we needed to know.
Mm-hmm.
It was boring, and I really hated it. Oh,
well, I mean, the main thing we need to talk. So, yeah, the episode begins with the orcs bringing forth this crown, and we've seen this in the trailers, sort of like Sauron's crown. And it tells us, it situates us immediately. It says we're in Forward Wraith. I don't know how to say it. Forward Wraith, in the far north, at the dawn of the Second Age, and Sauron is addressing his legions of orcs. Now, this isn't Charlie Vickers. This isn't your Halbrand Sauron. No. This is a previous form of Sauron, played by a different actor. Now, you follow the behind-the-scenes stuff a lot more than I do, and I think you mentioned that we will see a different appearance of Sauron at some point. There is a different actor who's cast as Sauron. I'm guessing this is him. I don't think they're going to do like another flashback or anything like that. I know a few were rumored. Now, this guy, I was trying to place the actor, and I don't know the actor. The actor is Jack Lowden. I don't think I've seen anything he's been in. But I'm going to bring up the thumbnail again real quick. Now, I'm not like, a Twilight fan, whatever they call them. This guy reminds me of, is it someone Sheen? Was he like the Volturi leader in Twilight? I was getting Volturi vibes from this guy, and I don't know why. It was crazy, but he just had one of those faces. Yeah.
The speech that he gave, did you not think it sounded a bit like, is it Lord Farquhar in Shrek, where he's like, some of you may die.
It's a sacrifice I am willing to make. I never even thought of that. You're absolutely right. This scene, just everything is wrong about this scene, okay? Just, oh my god, this is like overwhelming because I just want to like go like a million directions at once. Okay. The fact that the orcs rebel against Sauron and do this whole kind of like Julius Caesar assassination thing would never fucking happen. This is Sauron. This is like the fucking harbinger of doom. This is the servant of Morgoth. Morgoth is like death incarnate. He is evil incarnate. And this is his apprentice, essentially, who pretty much carries over exactly the same, ideology that Morgoth, his master, had beforehand. Sauron is terrifying. He's a Maiar. He is infinitely powerful. Orcs are nothing. Orcs are like a stain on the undersole of his shoe. Like, these are ants compared to him. There is no way that the orcs would have the bottle to Julius Caesar assassinate this guy. It would never, ever fucking happen. Now, I know in the book you have stuff, and this is actually some of my favorite stuff in the book. You have like the Uruks and some of the orcs squabbling with each other, and they're talking shit about Sauron a little bit behind his back. It's almost like they're talking smack about the boss at work, but never to the point where they would be in a position where they could overthrow him. Would never happen. Sauron would wipe the floor with these things. So immediately, the circumstances that we find ourselves in at the beginning of this episode, I was like, this is just all wrong. We've got this completely wrong.
Yeah, I mean, are we meant to be pitying Sauron? That, he's been stabbed in the back.
Yeah.
And like what you said, the first thing I thought of was, hold on, like orcs, they're subjugated through fear. And what is Adar bringing that's more powerful than Sauron? Like, why all of a sudden do they not fear him? It's like they've really dulled down Sauron and made him so weak. I mean, you see him fighting a couple of the orcs, but that's about it. And he just gets stabbed, and then dies. I mean, he forgets that you can shapeshift into a bat. Could probably fly off, but no, he can't do that. Really bizarre opening scene. I don't get why they've gone along this route. I really don't.
There's just other bits like, and there's still time where they might explain them. And I haven't gone back to watch season 1. I'm so glad it opened with a previously on, because, we were trying to remember characters' names and like, where did we last leave this character at the end of the previous season? I'd completely forgotten all about that. So I'm glad it opened with a previously on. But Adar himself is kind of like this hybrid, like, half elf, half orc, and I don't think they've really fully explained that. I know that they say that orcs came into being originally by the kidnapped elves, and they were tortured and mutilated and like crossbred and God only knows what else. so much so for such a long period of time that they essentially became like their own subspecies, which we know as the orcs. But Ador's like this kind of weird in between. He's not as grotesque as the orcs, and he's not exactly dashing enough to be like a regular average Joe of Middle Earth. So I still don't know what's going on with Adar.
Well, they said
yeah.
later on in the episode that he was one of 13 chosen by Morgoth, Malkor, to get, I don't know, to power up or something. So I think he was an experiment by Morgoth. I don't know what really he is. I think we will be getting a flashback scene with him being created. I think that was one of the rumors out there. I just don't get. I just don't get how they are not following Sauron and how it's all just changed, because you see in a previous shot in the first season and in the prologue, you see all these orcs bowing down to Sauron. You know, he's in a much more majestic form. He's more intimidating, and then he decides, you know what, I'm going to go into this form. And now, why have the orcs stopped following him?
Yeah,
they've not explained it. They're just like, oh yeah, just go along with it. It just happened. Well, it isn't. He's now the top rank badass evil villain in Middle Earth now. Morgoth's gone. They should be all subjugated by him. But I don't get why they decided to parallel Caesar and Sauron. Do not know.
It's ridiculous. So I was looking at a little bit because, as I say, it tells us that at this point in the story, the beginning of this episode, we're at the dawn of the Second Age. So Sauron before this point, there's not a whole lot of writing on him before this point. It's literally the main event that he's done before is the whole Beren and Luthien thing, where you mentioned he's turned into a vampire, he's turned into a werewolf, he's turned into the whole Universal Monster series, Wolfman, the Mummy, Creature from the Black Lagoon. He literally does turn into the Creature from the Black Lagoon very, very shortly after this, which we'll talk about in just a second. So once the War of Wraths happened and Morgoth has been captured and taken to the west and put in chains, Sauron just kind of flees and hides somewhere. That's all we know. So yeah, literally, he's just been Dracula, and now he turns into this pretty boy. And I thought the whole fair form thing more came into it with Anatar, Lord of Gifts, and not so much around this point, because he's just still this terrifying overlord. And I think the image that cemented it for me of how wrong this was is that Sauron bows before an orc so that the orc can place the crown on his head. And I know they're doing some kind of like coronation ceremony, but I'm sorry, Sauron put the own crown on his head. Like, he ain't going to have an orc doing it. He's not going to bow before an orc, this piece of filth that's like popped out of the mud that he's probably created, that he's the lord over. So that image, and he's kind of kneeling for ages, and he's like, what are you doing? Like, here's my head. And he like leans his head down a little bit more. I'm like, you're putting Sauron in this absolutely just weak position. And Sauron is never, ever in this position. We've had a few comments, and I'll go through all of you guys' comments. So please keep the conversation going, and we'll get to everyone's comments. Tar Elenian, who loves quoting Tolkien, and thank you, because someone related to Rings of Power needs to start quoting Tolkien. Yes, said Gorbag, but don't count on it. I'm not easy in my mind. As I said, the big bosses, his voice sank almost to a whisper. Even the biggest can make mistakes. So there's doubts there. This is towards the end of the Return of the King. As I say, like some of the orcs, but if they were face to face with Sauron, ain't no way that they're going to be saying this to Sauron. And yeah. And anyway, he's like killed with this crown, and then they all jump in and start stabbing him. And as a Maiar, I guess he just erupts into this fountain of light, which creates the frozen wastes in Thorodwraith. Like, yeah,
and no one dies, by the way, by this explosion. You got Adar, who's over him at this point, with such an explosion that, you know, creates a new landscape. No, he's all right.
He's creating landscapes so easily. Like, I love Waldrick, and I ain't going to take anything away from all the wonderful
Don't
things
you dare.
for us. But just creating Mordor and Mount Doom, the way that they did. And now we have a whole region of ice that's just created from Sauron being destroyed. Why is it like an ice blast? That's so weird. Like, why? What relation is that to Sauron? It's so strange. And they're trying to do the whole prologue thing, I guess, from Fellowship, where after he gets the ring cut off his hand, it sends out that massive shockwave that just knocks everyone off their feet. To be fair, when I watched that as a kid, I thought everyone was killed in that scene where you see all the bodies like hit the ground. But it's just a shockwave, right? And even when Sauron dies at the end of Return of the King, there's that explosion and a similar kind of shockwave to that. But this just like icy blast that completely transforms the geographical landscape. As like with Foradraith, the reason that it's ice is that after the War of Wrath, I think a bunch of it's the Iron Mountains were destroyed and were leveled during the conflict, which opened up this new pass, which meant that like a cold chill came through, like proper geographical tectonic shifting kind of stuff happening, resulting in a change of climate, which is, logical. Whereas this is just, oh yeah, Sauron dies and now we've got a frozen tundra in Foradraith instantly. Yeah, and then you just see like Adar and the orcs get up off the ground and they've got like a bit of dusting of like frost on them. I'm like, they'd all be dead. They'd all be frozen to death. It'd be like the White Witch's kingdom in Narnia at this point.
Yeah. But, we cut away so it doesn't matter. So
yeah. As soon as they start thinking about it, cut to the next scene.
Yeah, cut.
Yeah.
Awful. I thought as well, I don't know about you, I thought the acting was quite bad. I don't mind actually the new Adar actor. I thought he kind of slotted in quite well. It wasn't very notable. So I think they've done a good job then.
Mm-hmm.
But the actor for Sauron, he's like 5'6". This is the Intimidator.
Yeah.
What's he doing? And like the way that he spoke, it was so clunky. It wasn't intimidating at all. If I was an orc, I would be rebelling.
I mean,
awful.
Look, just that shit eating.
Look at that. He looks like Martin Sheen.
He does. Yeah.
That's Sauron. And this is another point that made me angry, by the way. And I think I brought it up to you before. So we've seen that he can shapeshift, so he can change his appearance. The show has shown that 2 actors can play Sauron at the same time. So why the hell did they still keep the actor for Halbrand in it? Why? And oh boy, they've got a plot later on that is so stupid for reasons why he's kept the Halbrand Luke. Unbelievable.
Did you see when it hit credits, it kind of did a what to expect on season 2, and it was like an elongated trailer almost for all the episodes to come. And they do the shot again where he's got the wig on and he's just like, I am Anatar, Lord of Gifts. And I'm just thinking, we've established in the episode we can get a different actor to play this guy. And we've even said this before. I know we've said this on stream before, that this would actually be kind of like free real estate to get different actors in every single time to play Sauron, purely for the fact that he's a shapeshifter. And this is like the main time where it would make sense for him to shapeshift into someone else to, get the scent off his back, essentially, and to parade as a new person. What it is, it's clearly they're trying to make up after season 1, because there should be no Halbrand. There is no Halbrand in the book. It is just Anatar, Lord of Gifts, and now they're trying to like play catch up to that and trying to retrofit it into that Sauron is this misunderstood villain and we can change him. We can make him good. He's good at heart, and I hate it so much, man. It just hurts. It's so wrong. And then, Sauron's stabbed to death.
Yeah.
And the camera pans down and all like the black blood's coming out of him, and it's like dripping into the ground, and the camera follows it underground. And then we see a rat that's just like right next to it. This is like a trope as well. There's always a rat in something. I'm just thinking of, was it Endgame? Avengers Endgame? There was a rat that tinkers with something which brings Ant-Man back.
House of the Dragon. There's a rat.
Yeah. And then this was in the trailer as well, because I remember us scratching our heads as to what this black symbiote thing, this alien thing crawling at us. Well, that's Sauron. He's kind of like forming himself again. And I guess he's like Hellraiser. He needs to keep consuming living things, whether it be a rat or whether it be I don't know, do we see him eat another animal at some point and then eventually humans? And the more he consumes, the more human he becomes. And then he's just kind of like this black, gooey
Yeah.
body or mass just dragging himself along the floor.
Did you
I'm
see
like,
the shot
is this a
with?
wire? Like, is this how it happens all the time? It's yeah.
Yeah, like, can you imagine when he's just been defeated by Isildur? He's just like some big black gloop, and
Yeah.
people are like, hold on, what's that moving over there?
Well, I was
Because
thinking Gandalf as well, like after he kills the
yeah,
Balrog and he's like, I was sent back until my task is done. I'm just imagining this like thing like dragging itself along the floor. Like fucking RoboCop, the toxic waste. Get away from me, man.
straight away, the design of it, I thought of Spider-Man 3.
Yes, yeah, the symbiote, yeah.
And the CGI didn't look great at all. And they stuck on this for ages. They really hung on
this
it.
weird editing thing. It kept like fading to black and then fading back into the same shot. I'm like, why?
Yeah, and I don't know how much time has passed during this. You audience, you won't know because they don't tell you. This could have been hundreds of years. This could have been the next day, because that could have been the reason why they fade it to black, because they're like, yeah, let's just skip time.
Yeah,
we don't need to bother explaining.
Because if that's at the dawn of the Second Age, I can't remember when this show is meant to take place, because they're jumping around the timeline willy-nilly, you know, like stuff's happening that isn't meant to happen for like an age. So I think they did announce what date it was. Is it like year 1000 and something of the Second Age this is set in? Something like that. So yeah, it's probably like close to a millennium that he was in that form. It's just when it cut to the wide shot outside of the snowy mountains and you just saw this like husk just slide down.
You know what I expected? Because it was at one point, because it was falling and then it stopped still. I half expected it to be like you see Galadriel or someone just like climbing on the other side, because it hung on for it a little bit.
Right.
I was thinking, don't you dare put them in the same space. But no, they didn't. And yeah, I think it was 4 minutes in total, that whole sequence was.
Yeah.
From him turning into this black gloop to then revealing Halbrand. Oh
yeah, and then he joins this rank of peasants who are fleeing like an orc attack and trying to build a new world for themselves, a new life for themselves. And this old guy gives Sauron some life lessons, and he's like, you can come with us and start anew, or you can keep on going that way and probably get killed. And then I was watching this and I was genuinely thinking, like, are they meant to be making Sauron a sympathetic character here? Because I was getting vibes of that. Like, he genuinely looked tortured, and like he was like, oh, maybe I should join these people and be nice. And, you know, his words of wisdom, things to think about. And then this kind of leads us into the circumstances of where we find Halbrand at the beginning of season 1, doesn't it? Where they're attacked by the Kraken at sea.
See, that's where timelines are getting confused for me, because I don't know how much time's passed between that point. Because, you know, has he just been wandering about and then he's just met up with these people like straight away? I don't know, but I agree. I think they're really playing the card of Sauron is just misunderstood at first. He can be changed. You know, he's not purely evil at heart. And, you know, having that lecture, it felt so forced. Why are you putting a lecture in like that? Like, you imagine that you bump into a random stranger and you just start lecturing them about life. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It was just put in just to be like, oh, here we go. And this is Walter White, by the way. Sauron. I don't know how it's going to compare to Walter White. But again, it's just clunky. And why are we getting another POV? His POV of the raft.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. I don't care how he got the emblem. It's done. Who cares?
What did you think to the bit where the Kraken attacks the ship that he's on, and Halbrand's under the water, and the Kraken like comes up to him, and then I guess feels the evil vibes that Sauron's giving off, and then backs away. I thought that was kind of like a cool idea, but I mean, just the fact that we've got Sauron as Halbrand on a raft with Galadriel, the entirety of season 1, I'm just like, this is wrong. Like, why are we doing any of this? Like, so I'm sorry, like, some people might think that, oh, having an inherently, you know, black and white, this is good, this is evil, is like really boring, and you're completely entitled to that opinion. And I guess in that instance, Lord of the Rings might not be for you, Star Wars might not be for you. It's not, both are not really a fantasy landscape where there is like a middle ground. I mean, I know it's been done, I know you got stuff like Grey Jedi, but that's usually in the expanded universe and whatnot. But inherently, like the OG, the original trilogy, and with Lord of the Rings and Tolkien's Middle Earth in general, it is pretty clear cut. It's good triumphing over evil, and that's fine. It's okay to have a character like Sauron just be inherently evil and dark and evil. That's fine. I don't like what they're trying to do with this, and you can already tell when we get onto the next scene in just a second where we talk about Galadriel, they're still playing up that thing where Galadriel can change him and she's going to try and redeem him and bring him back to the light. And I think even Elrond mentions a few times that, you know, maybe Sauron has got in your mind and you're just like besotted with him and infatuated with him because, you know, oh, he's so dreamy. He's so dreamy, this dark, dashing, evil guy who she knows is Sauron. Like, you know everything that Sauron has done. You clearly know who he is. You know of Morgoth. You've been around long enough to know that. What are we doing? It's just,
what are we doing?
Yeah.
And I really hate how they've made Elrond the baddie. He's the one.
Yeah, I know. He's the only one who's chatting sense.
I know. And he's just shunned.
Yeah.
But going back to the sea creature in the water, I say that's probably the only thing that they've kind of gone back, explained in it. It explains why it didn't attack Halbrand on the raft, because it should have. So in seeing the creature, it was cool. But you just get reminded that Galadriel swam all that way.
I know.
And managed to pick the only managed in a vast ocean space, she managed to find Halbrand, Sauron in the middle of the ocean. Absolutely mad.
Yeah.
Absolutely baffling.
It was funny seeing that previously on, because there were some things that I completely forgot about. I forgot about the light vagina that opens up to lead you into Valinor. I forgot about that, like the portal that opens up. And then, she just jumps in the water, and it was just reminding me of everything that we ripped apart in season 1, which was funny. And like, it's like they're proud of this, they're showcasing this, they're bringing this up again so that you're aware of it. Yeah, and
just in case you've forgotten that Sauron's meant to be the baddie, he nicks that emblem, doesn't he? That badge from that old bloke who gave him the lecture, and then just doesn't help him.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, Master Sauron. Oh, can't fight orcs, but he can leave an old man behind. Sounds a lot similar to the Harfoots, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yes, it does. Yeah. No one goes alone. No one goes off road, and no one walks alone, or what? You'll never walk alone. The football song. I don't know.
Yeah. No one looks down to see a big, large rope.
Yeah.
Oh, awful.
Just going to bring up a couple of comments, and then we'll dive into the next scene, Galadriel and Elrond riding, because there's a lot to talk about this one. Bath Time says, I haven't watched it. Please tell me it's passable, at least as a TV episode. I'm sorry. No. I can't say it is. We've got Rosie Gamgee, who says hello. Hello. I've read Tarylinians. Bath Time says, is there any reason beyond branding that Sauron isn't being called Myron by anyone? I think he became universally known as Sauron after Numenor went sideways. Oh, actually, I can't remember when he gets the official name of Sauron. You might be right. I remember reading that somewhere in the Silmarillion. I can't remember where it is, though. If it is at that point, I'm guessing it's just because of, like, as you said, a branding thing. We know Sauron's name from the Lord of the Rings films. They've referred to him as Sauron in Rings of Power Season 1. They're not going to... I mean, if they're not going to stay lore accurate to this point, there ain't no way in hell they're going to call him Myron.
Forget it, Bath Time.
Yeah, Bath Time, attention to detail. What are you talking about? And he says the other 12 are all Waldrick, creator of Mordor. Yes, we will be talking about our boy.
Yes.
We will. Let's see. Any other comments to bring up? Bath Time says, I genuinely enjoy a series based around Sackville Baggins starting an underground French resistance against Sharpie. The ultimate redemption of Lobelia Sackville Baggins at the end during the Scouring of the Shire is amazing. Like, yeah, she goes from one of the most hated characters in the Legendarium to, yeah, actually, you kind of feel bad for her and you're on her side. Love that. And I think Toralenians sums it up pretty well here. They don't want to tell Tolkien's story. They want to tell their story. And they were quite candid about that during season 1. And I don't think they're going to change their MO at this point either. Right. Do you want to take it away and set us up for the Galadriel and Elrond scene?
Yeah. Have you seen The Fellowship of the Ring?
I might have watched it 1 or 2 times. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Do you remember that horse scene when you have Arwen just running off with Frodo and you have the ring wraiths following behind? Wow, we've got a shot for shot. Apart from the tree, the branch hitting Galadriel, which I was hoping for, we got that again. And we have Galadriel chasing after Elrond because she wants the rings of power.
Yeah.
And somehow Elrond looks the worst. Then they're making it out as if this is a bad choice by Elrond. Absolutely unbelievable. So she wants the rings. She's not gone to Gil-galad straight away. Once she's found out that Sauron's identity, that Halbrand was Sauron, sorry. She's not gone to Gil-galad. She's not warned anyone. She's not warned, apparently, Celebrimbor. Only Elrond knows. Bearing in mind, this was a guy who's her mortal enemy. She's been hunting him down for years. She tells no one for her own selfish needs because she doesn't want to look bad.
Yeah.
So she's chasing Elrond down because she doesn't want to look bad. She wants the rings of power. She believes that they're good. Now, because Sauron has a hand in it, he may not have created them, but he has a big hand in it, according to the show. Why would she want to use the rings?
Exactly.
When she knows that he's had a bit to do with it, it doesn't make sense at all. She should be on his side, wanting to destroy them. I don't get it. It's absolutely baffling. And Elrond's such a cock.
Oh, I know. It kills me because every line that he has, he's pretty much on the money. He's sort of like the audience envoy. He's like, that's what we're all saying, screaming at the screen. And there's a moment in a bit where Galadriel is just such a gaslighter and like not accountable for any of her actions, and her excuse is just absolute bullshit. We'll get onto that. It's in this very next scene in a minute. But what annoys me the most is Galadriel just seemed... Is she just unaware of Sauron's past exploits in Middle-earth and just the Legendarium as a whole? Because her brother was killed during a battle with... Well, I think it was the War of Wrath, maybe, wasn't it? Or something. Or a fight with Sauron, at least, who was involved. Yeah. This is probably going to be announced at some point, but the capture of her husband, I'm guessing they're probably going to go into that storyline at some point, even though they chose to get rid of Celeborn for reasons because they didn't want to diminish Galadriel's agency in Series 1. But yeah, the main ending is Sauron has now revealed himself and shows that he's an evil, nasty man who likes shouting very, very close up to the camera, which they showed again in the previously on, which made me laugh. And she just hasn't explained this to anyone. We keep saying this, like, they're... And I was waiting for the writers to somehow come up with a compelling reason enough why she wouldn't divulge this information to anyone. And they don't. They just double down on it. And if anything, it's just kind of stoked the fire of my arguments as to why didn't she bring this up? And none of them get to the bottom of this. And I guarantee now, moving on, this will never come up again. They've tied this off in a neat little bow. And none of them will bring up the whole fact that Galadriel never told any of her kin or just anyone. She just kept it to herself. The editing in this scene was really weird as well, because Galadriel is right on the heels of Elrond on this horse. Like, she's right behind him. And then it cuts to the next scene, and Elrond's kind of got the jump on her, and he's slipped away. He's just disappeared, and she can't find him. And then she's summoned. Galadriel's summoned anyway to like Gil-galad's court, and Elrond's there, and I don't know. Was this confusing to you? Did I miss something? It was so strange how this was pieced together.
Yeah, it just cut because you see them. So they chase, and then all of a sudden, she's like captured, isn't she?
Well,
Or
she's
not.
lost him. She like rounds the corner.
Yeah.
And she's looking for him. Like, where the hell's Elrond?
And then he's given them orders.
Yeah, and then these soldiers show up and they say like, Galadriel, you are wanted, or something, like, she's being summoned to the council. And then she's there, and Elrond's just there with Gil-galad anyway, and Galadriel's being summoned. So why that whole chase scene?
Yeah.
Why that scene where he disappeared and she was trying to look for it? Like, I don't know. It was so weird how that was pieced together. I kind of lost the plot with that a little bit.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. And why hasn't Elrond told Gil-galad?
Yeah.
He's just as bad. Well, he's not as bad as the Führer over there, but why? It's important information. The main enemy is been allowed in Eregion.
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't he telling anyone? He's doing this thing where he's like, he's going to let you make the decision. It's like, I'm not going to tell him. You do it. What if Galadriel never said anything? Mm-hmm. Would he have said something then?
Yeah.
No, because all he said is to Gil-galad is that someone from the Southlands isn't who they're meant to be. That's all he said to Gil-galad.
He says, like, why do you keep dancing around the question? Doesn't he? I think he says that to her or something like that.
But I do love the fact that, she does finally confess that, Sauron was there, and she doesn't get told off. She doesn't get kicked out. She doesn't get scorned, deranked. No. Because you know what happens, which I found bizarre. She randomly chucks in Elrond's face about Moria. What the heck?
Gaslighting. That's the gaslighting. That's the what do they call it in an argument where you change the subject to something else that's got nothing to do with it?
Flipping.
Deflecting. Yeah,
deflecting, that's it.
Like, what's that? Okay, well, I don't see why that's relevant, but go on.
Yeah, it's like, you let Sauron in, the rings are bad. Yeah, well, you had failure in Moria. What the heck's that got to do with it?
Yeah,
as if that's an excuse.
Exactly.
And she doesn't get brought up on that.
Nope.
Because then Gil-galad decides, you know what, the rings could be useful. I'm gonna team up with you. Elrond, hand them over. What? What's the point? She faces no consequences in this episode for her actions. Nothing.
Now,
and how are you meant to
get in that bag?
Yes.
Now, it might be because they're not being worn or anything, but isn't it just the fact that all three rings are together? Why isn't the tree suddenly erupting into bloom like it does at the very end of the episode because all three rings are present?
100%. I don't get it. Do they have to be worn? But the mithril the mithril that cured that leaf, no one was holding it. It was just chucked.
Oh, yeah, no, you're right.
So I don't get why.
Maybe it's because they were in like a magic-proof bag.
Yeah. magic happened, And oh man, Elrond did something that I wanted to do.
Just chucked himself off a cliff.
Because elves can't, they can withstand blunt force trauma.
Yeah.
He just jumps. What would they have done to him?
Waterfall. Like, this is a high waterfall. So he jumped up. I put, okay, so Elrond's dead then.
Yeah. And you look down below and it's all rocky.
Aim for the bushes.
Yeah. and you know what? They do perfect editing. They just cut away.
Yeah.
And that's it. He's somehow, they've managed, in like the Hobbit, they should have just done that. With the barrel scene. They should have just shown them in the barrels and then just cut away to them getting on land. Because, why waste showing it? Surely they've got guards all around there and they'll be like, Luke, go and shut the gates, go follow the river. Nothing.
Yeah, he'd be strawberry jam at the bottom of that waterfall. Like, that's it. Come on.
And Galadriel's still the power play in this argument. How? She should
she's totally in the right. She's totally in the right.
And Gil-galad, what have they done to that boy?
Well, I mean, it's just a carryover of what they did to him in series 1, isn't it? But is this the bit where he's singing his little song, or that comes later?
No, that's later on when he has a little ballad.
Just expecting one person to go, yay! Just one person clapping in the audience. We also have that line drop. I mentioned this in the trailer review anyway, but he goes like, "Who is this man?" I don't know if this was a different take, but he didn't seem to charge up on the word man as much as he did in the trailer, which I was kind of disappointed about. It could be the same take, I'm not sure. But in the trailer, he was like, "Who is this?" And his like face imploded, man.
Yeah, and then he didn't, did he?
I feel like it was a different take. It was a subtler take, which kind of annoyed me. And then Galadriel goes, "He is no man." And then, she tells them, "Oh, yeah, it's Sauron." I'm like, okay, so it's really easy for you to tell them now that he's Sauron. But this wasn't convenient, like, when you first found out about it. So why keep that information to yourself? And I think Elrond even says that. He says, "Well, why is it you're choosing to tell us now and you didn't when you first found out about it?" And she's like, "What do you know about it? Nothing." And she's like, "What about your failure at Moria?" And I'm like, just Galadriel just continues to be a loathsome cunt throughout these 2 seasons. Yeah. Do you remember that scene where, I think it's when they went to Numenor? Was it when she was in the presence of Queen Miriel? And Miriel was being quite reasonable, and Galadriel was just being a royal fucking bitch. And I think Halbrand has to step in, Sauron, the harbinger of doom, and he's the one who has to like quell the situation. He's like the really amicable one. She's just this sour-faced old trout, isn't she, Galadriel, in these 2 seasons? And I think I read some articles saying like, "Oh, she's going to play Galadriel differently this season."
Yeah.
Like, no, she isn't. She's exactly the same. She's worse than ever. She's exactly the same.
100%. I think the main gripe for me is that she's faced no accountability, and she's just right. And you see at the end of the episode, it works out perfect.
Yep.
So she won't face any consequences. And like I say, we got a plank of wood playing Galadriel. It's not great at all.
When Galadriel was standing on the raft, I couldn't really make out what was the wood and what was Galadriel.
You got a twin on set.
Perfect camouflage, yeah. Yeah, so you have Elrond's fugitive scene where he just jumps in the water. I'm going to ask you a question about geographical distance in a second, because the next time we see Elrond, seems like he's in a completely different region when he meets up with another elvish character. But I was slightly confused about that. Then we have another scene, our boy Waldrig in this scene. Excellent stuff. So we cut back to Adar, and he's set himself up as some kind of like king amongst the orcs, father of the orcs. And Halbrand, Sauron, is brought before him. Right after Waldrig beats the shit out of him. And you mentioned this on your channel, and I was thinking it too, and I couldn't wait to talk about it on this review with you tonight. Waldrig has many qualities and has done many wonderful things in the Legendarium. He has created Mount Doom, and by proxy, the land of Mordor. Yeah. He has been a devout follower of Sauron all his time. And you brought up something on one of our streams before that I didn't even entertain the idea. By him creating Mount Doom, he kind of allows the One Ring to be created as well, which is pretty special. Yeah. You know, those are bragging rights. But now, as if the man wasn't unstoppable enough, he has another notch on his belt. Yeah. Dude beat the shit out of Sauron, like totally like KO'd him. And I've said this, like Gil-galad couldn't do that at the Battle of the Last Alliance. Elendil couldn't do that. Our boy Waldrig did it though, in one punch. Like, the dude's unstoppable. Which, when we find out his fate at the end of this episode, I'm like, he could take on that warg. He could beat the shit out of that warg. He just beat the shit out of Sauron. Come on.
That Giga Chad. What a legend, man. Could you imagine the actor, right? Whenever he got the script, I bet he was licking his lips like, okay, this, you know, like you say, this mucky butcher over here, he's reading his lines. Okay, I'm going to be a bit racist to an elf. But then, I create Mordor. I'm the reason. Okay, that's peaked. You know, that's peaked my role. Season 2. Okay, I have a fight scene with Sauron. Just think on YouTube, there'll be a clip that'll say Waldrig versus Sauron.
I want. Oh, please do an edit when he punches Halbrand. Cut to the shot from Return of the King where the eye explodes at the very end on the tower.
Yes. Yeah, just look at him on screen. He's beaten up Sauron.
Well, I was saying to you, he looks a little bit more well kept this series. He looks like he's combed his hair, he's slicked it down a little bit. I think he's given his beard a little bit of a trim. Dude's looking sharp.
Oh yeah, he's looking great. He's lean. He's done his hair up a little bit. His beard's could be a little bit more weight, but he's got his armor on, and I hope his arm's healed okay because and I just love how I don't know what rank he is, but he's commanding. I mean, he's interrogating, so he's leveled up in the world. Good on him.
I guess he's like the sort of. Is he like the Tarkin level? If we're going to compare it to Star Wars, is Adar's like Vader, I suppose, and then Waldrig's like Tarkin. He's like the second-hand man, like the second in command or something like that, I guess. Yeah. He's an absolute treasure, isn't he?
Yeah, and I do love it how he's barking his orders, and we do see why he wasn't in the trailers, which it hurts seeing him now. So I want at the end of the show, everyone, minute silence for Waldrig. Thank you.
We need to put together like a slow-mo montage, like in the arms of the angels. Black and white Dion music playing or something. Oh my god, though, Halbrand's next line. He approaches Adar and goes full on Moses and says, Ramesses, let my people go. Like, what are we doing?
What are you on about?
It's like, the writers were like, keep it subtle. Keep it subtle. Let my people go in capital letters with an exclamation mark. I'm like, yeah. It's like the Nazi salute that the stormtroopers give in episode 7. We all know that the stormtroopers are based off like Nazis and things like that, like the jackboots and everything like that. And it's like it's always been subtle though, like the comparison's there. And then J.J. Abrams came along in episode 7 and gave them like a full-on Heil Hitler salute. And I'll be like, yeah, we get it, we get it, we get what you're trying to do. So yeah, he comes to Adar with a proposition.
Yeah,
which is going to tie into his very lovely, demure Anatar Lord of Gifts appearance, which I'm guessing we're probably going to get next episode, maybe, it would seem.
What a stupid plot that they've got. So his plan, so he's offering to team up with Adar.
Yeah.
So he mentions that Galadriel and Sauron are already teaming up, even though Galadriel has a conversation with Adar in the previous season saying how much she wants to kill Sauron. So yeah, they're going to team up for sure. And they're going to be teaming up to attack Adar. And he just, he goes along with it.
Yeah.
He wants more answers. This is Adar. This is their king. This is the person who they feared more than Sauron. And, we get the looks of, Halbrand's brewing full of hate. He's going to get his own back. And it's awful, man. The acting, the writing's awful. And lo and behold, he gets chucked in jail.
Yeah.
And this is meant to be Amazon's way of Sauron manipulating people. This is him being a master manipulator.
Yeah, I guess we can jump to like a couple of scenes where we next see Sauron in the prison cell. There's like a warg in there that he this is the bit where he sort of controls it, isn't it? He talks in like black speech, or because he's Sauron, like the evil vibes calm the warg down, or he can bend it to his will or something. I know that's a couple of scenes time, but we may as well just talk about it now because it literally just cuts to that where he controls the warg, which I will be holding back tears when we talk about what happens with that warg later on at the end of the episode. Makes me very, very sad. Just a couple of comments and then we'll dive into, oh, great, we've got Gandalf and Nori next. Wonderful.
Oh.
So we're talking about that. Bath Time says, what was all that stuff about fire doesn't burn you if it's too evil or something? Is that related to the ice? I don't know. I guess he's talking about Forodwaith. I don't know. I think if you're at the epicenter of like a liquid nitrogen explosion, which pretty much this is, I think I don't think you'd be walking that off as all of them do.
Yeah, because they had it though in season 1 that fire doesn't, when it's evil, it's not hot, it's cold, which will be very interesting. Seems though they have a trebuchet battle later on where they're firing fireballs into a Region. So I wonder if they're hot.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe the Balrog's going to be cold as well. We'll find out. Bath Time says Anatar Prime, next day delivery of your gifts. That's good. I like that one.
That is good.
Bath Time. At some point, I expect them to start using the Indiana Jones map transitions. Look, Tom Bombadil's delivery to the child. Well, they kind of do actually at the end of this episode, where Poppy shows up. Oh my god, the lazy fucking writing, and I'm going to go off on that scene. That was terrible.
Same.
Batsman said, to be fair on the Sauron point, he did repent and ask for forgiveness, but never followed it up. I've always quite liked the idea that creating the ring for him was a way to separate Melkor's corruption. Yeah, I guess you could say that, because, I mean, there's differentiation, isn't there? Because, I mean, there's Sauron's ring, which is the one ring, and then, just grabbing this, you've got Volume 10, which is like Morgoth's ring, and Morgoth's ring is essentially the hatred that it's the world. It's Arda, because he's poured all of his hatred into the world. And apparently that hatred will never go away. It will always be there. Well, kind of. There's the Dagor Dagorath, and you're like, is that technically canon? It's like the second coming, and he's going to come back, and he's going to be overthrown again, and there's going to be a second Music of the Ainur. I like to think that that's canon, because it's very much like the Book of Revelations, but I think Christopher Tolkien said he found like a note from his father saying that wasn't canon, but yeah. Tartalinian says, from National Public Radio's review, Galadriel, for example, realizes she's been deceived by Sauron and certainly talks a big game about feeling introspective and remorseful about it, but we don't see any of that on screen. Instead, she continues to bully everyone around her with the same tiresome my way or the highway attitude she always has. Absolutely. Couldn't have summed it up better myself. That's absolutely what we get from her. Okay, do you want to tee us up for the magical, wonderful adventures of Gandalf and Nori in Rhûn? Are they in Rhûn? Apparently, they're not in Rhûn at this point. Are they on the borders of Rhûn? I don't know.
So, according to them, according to Poppy, they haven't moved much. They haven't moved far.
But they're in a desert.
Yeah. Apparently, they didn't go far because she managed to track them down.
Right. Yeah.
Somehow. But, so, have you seen the Two Towers?
I once or twice, I think. Yeah, I'm vaguely aware of the Two Towers. Yeah.
Do you remember a certain scene where a hobbit, a couple of hobbits get lost, and they're going around in circles?
Yeah, that's right.
And they're being followed by someone, and they know that they're getting followed.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. We have not Gandalf, who's fluent in English, by the way, now.
I have a note on that as well. Yeah.
He's fluent in song. He can hold a chord.
Yeah.
So him and not Frodo were just, they're lost. They're wandering around. And it's at night time, and then it cuts into the daytime, and they notice a tree stump, and she wants him to perform magic on the tree, as if she has that right to command him. And so he's like, oh, it didn't work last time. One thing I did find funny, though, is when he's like telling her to go back, stay away from it. Because it's like, thank you. Because they blamed that on him last season when it wasn't his fault. It was theirs. So she goes back, and then he blows up the tree somehow. And then a load of bugs come out, and then they eat it. Like,
that's so weird to me, that scene.
Because when she was saying bugs.
Yeah, I thought she was going to say, we need food, create like an apple tree or something, or bring life back to this tree. Yeah. And then all of these like scarab beetles from the Mummy pour out of it in like a whole swarm. And I was like, oh god. And she's like, we'll eat for days. I was like, what are you talking about? This is like a pestilence that's coming out of this tree stump. What the fuck are you talking about? And then they're like, Hakuna Matata and the like Timon and Pumbaa just snacking on bugs. I was like, oh, okay. I guess that's the food. Not what I was expecting.
She has a line where she says, so they're eating it, and I'm not sure if he complains about it. Like, he can feel the legs on his throat, and she's like,
Yeah.
that's the best bit. You gotta have that, you know. Oh, their accents do my head in. Like, why have they gone Irish?
Proper Irish, aren't they? Yeah.
And they're reminiscing, you know, she's missing her best friend, who she just easily just lets go in the previous season. So she's missing her. I wonder what that's leading up to. And he mentions home, doesn't he? And I'm not sure if it's this scene or the later scene where they're talking about wizards. I think it might have been in this scene. And he's like, not all wizards are fair.
Yes.
I was thinking, how the hell do you know you've not met any wizards? Like, how do you know that?
He showed up in a meteor, doesn't he? But he doesn't remember where he came from. So I don't know if that's going to like play into... He does have like a weird trippy vision, doesn't he? He sees like the staff or that stick, and then you do see like a quick glimpse of what we're guessing is Saruman. I did read somewhere that this is going to be a non-canon wizard, which I hope they don't do, because there's 5 wizards and they're all accounted for. You know, was it and the rods of the 5 wizards? Like, there's 5 of them. We can count them all. I still think it's going to be Saruman. I don't think they're going to do that, but I did see an article somewhere that said it's a non-canon wizard called the Dark Wizard. But
that's creative. The Dark Wizard. Oh, I wonder if he's evil.
I know.
Jeez. So why the hell did they dress him up as Saruman then?
Yeah, I know. I still think he's going to be Saruman. I think they're just going to do like the whole red herring thing. But what I was confused about, because I thought they were in Rune already, because we're surrounded by the desert. And then, you're right. They do say that they haven't got far, but I'm thinking, well, they didn't come from the Shire, did they? I'm trying to think where the Half-Foots are, and I think it's near, I say it's like near the Anduin, or like, is that where the stores are? I can't remember. But anyway, there are no deserts unless you're going to fucking Rune. So they're in Rune, as far as I'm concerned. And from what we've seen from the rest of the series in like various trailers and whatnot, the locale looks exactly the same. It didn't change. When they arrived at Rune, it looked exactly like the set they were on right before. So as far as I'm concerned, if they're not officially in Rune, they're pretty much on the borders of. So they've walked a long way. So this made me think, I'm thinking, how long is this meant to be set after season 1? Yeah. Because you've got all these other storylines going on that feel like they're taking place directly where we last left off from season 1. But then Gandalf and Nori have traversed, I mean, it's a long way to Rune. It's almost like the length of Mordor, I want to say, or thereabouts, probably, just shy of. It's a long way. And it's just the geographical distance. People just appear in different locations, and we'll see that later as well with Elrond, where he just shows up at Círdan's gaff. We get a quick shot of like the Tusken Raider, Mad Max bounty hunter things that are pursuing them. I'm guessing they're probably working for the wizard. Maybe we don't find out, at least in this episode.
You do see later on, it has like one of them has a bag, and they have that eye of Sauron on, like what the witch's cult had. Mm-hmm. So somehow they're hunting him down again after blowing up.
And we see those witches summoning Saruman, don't we? What we're assuming is Saruman.
Yeah, I agree with the time. It doesn't make sense because later on, when you talk to Poppy and she's talking, she mentions that, you know, she was looking after her dad, Nori's dad, and that she was doing chores around the house. So she had spent quite a bit of time there. She didn't go straight away and follow Nori. No. So she managed. So they managed to go, which I think it is in Rune. They managed to travel there, although she says they've been wandering in circles and not gone far. Mm-hmm. And she's managed with no food, with a map by Sardok, which I didn't even know that was his name. I thought it was Lenny Henry.
Yeah.
So that she's managed to track him.
I know.
Precise location, but that scene gets me. It's laughably bad. When they
do we want to talk about the Poppy scene now, or do you want to sort of go in order and then come to that later? It's up to you.
Oh, I'll leave that up to you. Whether you want,
we'll get to that Poppy when we get there, because I'm going to go off on that, because that is some of the laziest bullshit writing I've ever seen. But yeah, when you all the comparisons to the Lord of the Rings film, I was just expecting Poppy as this like Gollum-like creature, like it's Poppy. She's been following us for 3 days. Like,
She's been eating all the food.
He's got like all blueberry juice around her mouth, like.
Oh,
Right. Then we cut to Elrond, who shows up at Círdan the Shipwright's gaff. And now I didn't check this. I'm guessing Círdan lives quite a ways away from where he was just previously at with Gil-galad. Is that fair to say, or is he in the same place?
So it's within the region of Lindon, but it's a fair bit.
Yeah,
it's a fair trek away. He shouldn't be there within the same episode.
that's what I mean. So Gil-galad, he is in. Is he in Lindon as well?
Yeah, he's in the Grey Havens.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'll
allow that then. They're going to be in the same region. That's fair enough.
But you think like he jumped that distance, didn't break anything, didn't hurt himself, and he swam all that distance.
Yep. I guess elves are just gifted swimmers now at this point. We've seen Galadriel can swim across an entire ocean.
Yeah. And this isn't even like at the end of the episode.
No.
This is only a few scenes after that.
Mm-hmm. What do you think to our first appearance of Círdan the Shipwright?
I tell you what, it's probably the only scenes I enjoyed. And I enjoyed it because the music actually stood out for me in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the music was really good
throughout
the whole episode. I thought he stepped it up this season. And I thought the cinematography was really nice. But you do get introduced to a female shipwright. So I wonder if they're going to play a part and take over Círdan's role. But I thought his introduction was a little bit weak, to be honest. You don't really get to know much about him. You thrust straight into him talking to Elrond, about how the rings are, are bad and all that. I think he should have been introduced in season 1.
Yeah.
And then this scene would have made more sense. You don't really, if you're not a book fan, you don't really, I mean, he just wanders around. You don't really know really what he's doing or how important he is without them telling you. So I thought the actor was okay. Nothing special. What about yourself?
Yeah, like I haven't really seen enough of him at the moment to really pass judgment. I thought he was fine. Like, I thought he was okay. I did read an article somewhere. I think the showrunners have said that Círdan is going to be their Gandalf for this series. He's going to have a lot of wise words. I was like, he's going to be the Gandalf of this series when we've already got Gandalf in this series. What are we doing? But it's fine. I like that he's got the beard. That's an attention to detail. I mean, Peter Jackson didn't have that, so I'll give them credit for this. Círdan does have a beard. Elves have like a weird aging cycle, and when they're like super, super ancient, they do grow a beard. So I liked that. But even there's some weird editing later as well with Círdan where he's off on a ship and then he's not on a ship and he's back where he was originally. That confused me, but we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
We have a scene with Gil-galad, and I've just got a note that says female elven soldiers. Sure. Like, I don't know. It's
the ones with the helmets look 3 times too big.
Yes. Yeah. You've got like multicultural elves as well in some of the group shots, and like it confuses the geography for me. I'm like, this is breaking the world building. Like it's pretty established. You have certain provinces where people will look a certain way in Middle Earth, and you're not going to have like a full, multicultural, like you're walking down the streets of London group of elves kind of thing. Like that just wouldn't exist. So that just takes me out of the world building. It just takes me out of the, you've got certain provinces and regions. I've mentioned that before. I can't remember who mentions this, but they mention how amazing Celebrimbor's work is. They say that his work is incredible. I'm like, yeah, he didn't know what an alloy was in the previous series and had to be told that.
I got that down. It was for it was a conversation between Elrond and Círdan. They're having they're reminiscing. And yeah, he's like, he created the ring. Ring's like, he's a master Smith, and I'm like, hold on, he doesn't know what an alloy was.
Yeah, he could have made very spectacular things, could he?
He's just think that Calibrimbor's the master smith.
Yeah,
That docile git.
fucking hell.
Well, we get more of his Alzheimer's later. Don't worry about that.
It's a great point you raised there about Círdan having his like assistant, and then we also have Celebrimbor who's got an assistant, and I feel like that's just going to be a running thing now. There's a lot of talk in this episode how they keep saying that because Elrond's like, we need to destroy the rings, and I don't know if it's Gil-galad, I can't remember who says it. They say that destroying the 3 elven rings will mean that they're giving up on the peoples of Middle Earth.
Círdan says it.
And I'm like, well, you survived pretty well without elven rings and up until about like 5 minutes ago, because they were only created at the end of the previous series. So does that mean all the times that you've operated without these rings, you've been given up on the peoples of Middle Earth? No. But do you know what I mean? Like these rings are pretty new on the scene.
How do they know?
You're like completely besotted with them. It's like, oh, well, if we give these up, then the elves will diminish, and we're forsaking all the free peoples of Middle Earth. I'm like, no, you're not. You're just going back to like the status quo of what you were about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, like how do they know?
Yeah,
they don't know.
It feels just like artificial tension just being placed on like the power of these rings, and it's like they don't even know what these are. These are just showed up, and now it's like they're the be all and end all.
Yeah, it's just a way of explaining that, you know, they're powerful. They've got a big significance, and you can't destroy them. Mm-hmm. That's their explanation for it. It's clunky, and like you say, you've got this back and forth, and Elrond is just constantly getting talked down to. He's meant to be one of the most powerful voices in Middle Earth at this point, and he just gets talked down. No one listens to him. He is the voice of reason in the show. And yet he's the one that just gets disregarded.
Yeah.
And I don't think I can't act. I know I diss all these actors, but he can't carry it.
No.
He's just so weak. And it comes across as weak.
Gil-galad. No way. Absolutely
exactly. Not. The casting has been poor for all of them. It really has. I can't remember, is this... No, so the next scene's Gil-galad, isn't it? With Galadriel.
Yes, and Galadriel says that she wants to try and speak to Elrond, and she says, I'm going to reason with my friend. I'm like, no. Son-in-law, not friend, like son-in-law. What are you doing?
Galadriel, have you forgotten something?
Yeah, apparently. I don't know, as I say, like in the what you can expect from the series coming up, I swear there was a scene where you see like Adar or something cradling a baby. It looked like a baby, kind of like in Rags. I was thinking, oh, is that going to be like, I don't know, like Galadriel's kid that got kidnapped? Like, I don't know how long it takes like elf babies to age. Like, I don't know, but I did wonder what that was going to be.
Well, to be fair,
Celebrian needs to be a thing, because this is really awkward with Elrond for me.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he's just wandering around. He needs a girl.
He does, and I'd rather it not be like a newborn at this point, but like she needs to be a thing. She needs to be around.
God, so you got Elrond is weak, he's a cook, and now he's a nonce. Love it.
I'm getting the word.
I'm getting the word. Nonce.
Oh god. It is getting like Twilight. That's the thing in one of the Twilights, isn't it? Is it the werewolf guy imprints himself on Bella's newborn child, which is like
really?
Yeah, I think so. It's like when she is of age, like we will be together. I'm like, she's literally just been born, mate, and like you're an adult grown. That's gross.
That's bad. Yeah, that's disgusting. Utter nonsense. But
Taralenian's just done a comment referring to Morgoth's ring. He says the virtue of the Nissi in this matter was due rather to their abstaining from hunting or war, and the Nissi are elf women. So yeah, I don't think it's just there. I think it's just women in general in Middle Earth. They don't do battle, and that's fine because that's like historic and shit. And I keep saying it. That's what makes, you know, Eowyn's character so powerful when she has that moment.
Yeah, but we need to be diverse, though. Come
Yes.
on. It's just fantasy.
Don't know, it just pisses me off. It's just things mean things. This is world
Yes.
building, goddammit. And then I just have a note that says Elrond sends the rings out to sea with Círdan. I don't know if you have any other notes in that scene that you want to talk about, or
Yeah, so there's a couple of scenes. I can't remember. Does he send him away during that scene? Or is it where they're chatting and then the fucking SS and Galadriel wanders in to interrogate?
yeah, I think Galadriel walks in and then she kind of clocks and realizes where Elrond sent them. Yeah.
Right, so is the scene with Gil-galad and Galadriel before that?
Yeah.
That scene annoyed me because it was meant to look like Gil-galad was telling her off. He scorned her, but it didn't come across as that because he ended up going along with a plan.
Yep.
So she's like, so he's having a go at her for allowing Sauron to return to Region, but she can't do anything wrong. And he's going along with the plan to use the rings. Why would he? He shouldn't trust her at this point. She shouldn't be. She should be stripped of her command. But no. And their plan, I love the fact that she knows Elrond's plan straight away. He could have gone anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
He could have gone to Moria, where he's got allies. But no, according to her, he's gonna go to the wisest person that he knows.
Yeah, fucking
How does she know
Sherlock
that?
Holmes Galadriel over here.
I know you got Columbo over here, just like sorting everything. How does she
bear
know?
in mind, okay, so she's like super like investigatory right now, amazing and everything, and she can suss things out. She's a million steps ahead. Yet she couldn't work out that if you just turn the map the other way in the previous series, you know what I mean?
Oh, and she also swears that to destroy Sauron.
Yes.
If only you had an opportunity to, do that in the previous episode, and if you only had an opportunity to declare that Sauron was there and to reveal his identity, but you didn't because of your love interest for him, for your selfish needs. So, yeah.
Well, actually, it was because of Elrond's failure in Moria, which is why I never told anyone that Sauron was a thing.
Yeah, you're quite right. And the idea that she came up with him being the king of the Southlanders, but it was her idea, but she blamed it on him. Yeah, he manipulated her. But, there's a line that really annoyed me later on. I don't know if it's after this bit.
Well, the next bit I've got is Poppy showing up. So
right.
I'm going to go off on that, and then you can go off on which, I mean, we're probably going to have like a similar line written down somewhere. Yeah, Poppy just casually strolls into fucking Rune. It sounds like the start of a joke. Poppy just walks into Rune. I'm like, how did she, how?
Yeah.
These hobbits never, sorry, Harfoots, we can't say hobbits. They never go off the beaten track. They're so used to the comforts of home. And the only reason that I can buy that Nori knows where she's going is because she has a guide. She's with Gandalf, and Istari. What's Poppy's excuse?
She has a map.
She has a map. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, why did you even separate them at the end of series 1? You may as well just had them all go together from the off. Like, I don't know why we had to do that.
Remember, Poppy doesn't have any family.
Yeah.
They all died. So why did she stay? Why did she stay to then just leave? Like, not even like a couple of episodes in. It's straight away she's back. And my God, this scene, it has probably some of the worst editing and directing I've ever seen. The fact that it's in broad daylight, you can see when Gandalf's on top of the rocks and Nori's got a higher ground than him. She's just wandering straight out in the open. She's not hiding. How have they not spotted her? Go, hold on, that she doesn't look threatening. Instead, they want to go full Home Alone style. He's somehow learned how to do traps. So you've got in all that space, she decides to go in the narrowest part, where in broad daylight, there's a big thick rope on the floor. It's in plain sight. For one, Nori's not even hiding on the rocks. She could look up. Oh, there's Nori.
Mhm.
But no, she manages to trip over this wire, this rope, with one of the most ridiculous noises I've heard. It was like, oh, like, listen back to that noise. It was awful. So she manages to trip over. They still don't know it's Poppy Poppy at this point.
Mhm.
Nori, who's at the top of the rocks, looks down, chucks the blanket, still doesn't recognize it's Poppy. And then it does an awkward edit to, like, the music swells and then the blanket goes over the camera, and then the next minute Nori's down on the rocks. No commotion, no scared. She pulls the blanket off, and there's Poppy.
Mhm.
She's back somehow, with no food, with
Oh, she has food because she shares food with them. She's carried it all this way.
Wait, does she?
Yeah, I can't remember what she gives them, but yeah, she like hands it around. She says, "See, I've got food for everyone." And just I'm like, well, surprised.
Yeah.
Number one, I'm surprised you haven't eaten it all already, and number two, you've walked from Halffootland, wherever that is, all the way to fucking Rune by yourself.
Yeah.
What provisions did you encounter? Orcs on the road, brigands, anything? Do you have a weapon with you? Like she's just fucking walked like it's a Sunday stroll, casually to Rune.
Bearing in mind that not Galadriel, Gandalf and Nori are getting hunted down at this point.
Yep.
So if it is that the witch women are hunting them down, surely they would recognize her as being one of the people to take them down. I don't get it. It's so bizarre. They don't explain it. She just wanders in. And it's like, oh, you're not gone far. You've gone around in circles.
But they have gone far. They're literally almost in Rune. They're on the border of anything. And then the worst writing ever. So Gandalf doesn't know which way they're going. Nori, of course, doesn't know which way they're going. But somehow Poppy does know the way to Rune. And she's got like this bullshit map thing. And she says, oh, it's a song. It's a Hobbity song. And they sing this song. And then all of a sudden Gandalf knows all the words to it and is like finishing her sentences. And he's just like, oh, yeah, I know the way now to Rune. And they go on their merry fucking way via montage and get to Rune.
It's like fucking Oliver Twist. He just starts singing dialogue. It's like, oh, it's like, what the heck? Why is he broke out in song?
Like, second star to the right and straight on till morning, and they follow that shit, and it's just like, oh yeah, here's Rune. I'm like, do you just head east towards the big desert-y looking thing, and that's Rune?
What if they start singing that in a different location? Does it work?
That's a good point. Yeah. Like now I'm thinking like Mordor Gandalf. Is it left or right? Oh no! You follow the stars. God, like what? Actually, I thought I'd like slipped into a fever dream during this scene. What happened? They didn't know the way to Rune, even though they were in Rune. Poppy shows up. Well, that's bullshit. She just fucking materializes like Nightcrawler out of nowhere, and then she just says like, "Oh, you got to remember the famous Hobbity song of the famous Hobbity song." Hobbits who are very inclusive and of home and don't concern themselves with the wide world, concern themselves with Rune.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's a line in the Hobbit book where Bilbo says something like, "If I have to go from here to face the great wereworms in the deserts or something, in the far desert." So I don't know. Maybe they do know of Rune. They probably know of it, but fucking hell, they would never ever leave their houses or their places of living to head to Rune. And yet she knows the way. The Hobbits have songs about Rune, which doesn't seem very Hobbity to me.
Somehow. And again, it reminds me a little bit of the Rising Skywalker, where you see them point towards the rocks and it's like, there it is. It's like, oh my god.
It's like the whole Goonies thing. And I guess they're in Rune now. And, they'll soon run into Tom Bombadil, who's also in Rune.
Yep. It's his second home.
Yeah. his sunny vacation home
This
in
is
the
his
arid
holiday
desert
home
wastelands of Rune.
because he wants to fix it. Apparently,
But it's just a desert. It's just geographical, isn't it?
not
Well, I don't
according
know.
to Tom Bombadil.
Maybe like a Maiar exploded there and turned the whole place into a desert. Because that seems to how places get made.
Just Sauron touching himself has just blown it up.
Oh no! We've got a comment from Alpha Omega says, "Haven't watched it yet. That bad?" Oh yeah, we've
Yeah.
There is no way that we could have done 3 episodes. We're at 1 hour and 20 already. We're almost at the end of this episode, to be fair. But yeah, we've I think it was a wise decision splitting this up just for my own sanity. This episode was like what, 1 hour and 10 minutes with credits, and it felt like 3 hours to me. Now that could be because I was pausing it every 2 seconds to take notes on it because this was like the Acolyte all over again. There's just dumb shit every single sentence.
100%. I was non-stop. I couldn't just let it flow. The only time I did was with the Kiridan's introduction scene.
Yeah,
that was it. The rest is like, oh my god, they've said this, they've done that. What? But with to do with Poppy and that, so they're talking.
Yeah,
and then they're looking over the distance, and Gandalf's fascinated with the stars, and they pull him up on that. And then we get a shot of a Tusken Raider who's spying on them, and they're carrying like a bag with an eye on it of Sauron, so they're hunting him. But these people are going to be linked, aren't they, to the Dark Wizard? Now,
we
if
think
this
so.
is,
Yeah, like they're either hired by the witches or something. Yeah,
but if you think about that, if it is linked, and if that Dark Wizard is Saruman, why is he doing all this at this time?
Yeah.
He shouldn't be here until the Third Age.
Did Saruman show up via comet as well?
Ooh.
Or was that just a Gandalf thing? Did they come from space?
I'm not sure if he came over the sea.
So in the novel, yeah, he's meant to have come from the sea with the blue wizards, and then I thought they all 5 of them show up together. I think there's 2 different writings. I think one's in Unfinished Tales, it's slightly different, and then one in the appendices. I was under the impression they all sailed over at exactly the same time. Saruman went into the east with the blue wizards, and Gandalf and Radagast went on their merry way and did their own thing. Then later, Saruman returned on his own from the east, and some might think that he may have murdered the other 2 blue wizards. I don't think that's the case, because he's still meant to be good at this point. Because then there's writing saying that the blue wizards either aided during, and fought like a whole bunch of wars out there, which helped in the War of the Ring, and then others say that they just turned evil and made their own cults. But yeah, I think Saruman went into the... But I thought they all showed up. I can't remember when. I thought it was like in the Second Age, maybe, or it could be the start of the Third. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure on that one. But they're not going to explain it in this show by a long shot.
Let me just have a look. Istari. Order of Wizards. We're a group of Maiar sent to Middle-earth by the Valar in the Third Age, possibly the late Second Age. Yeah, so on the cusp of that. Not from space.
No.
It's not Transformers, like when all the Autobots arrived to Earth. The next scene, this is the heartbreaking one now. We're getting towards the end. Sauron swears allegiance to Adar, and then... He must have broken out then after that, right? Because
he sets him free, doesn't he?
Yeah, but then why does Waldrig go to the cell?
That is a very good point. Unless he's gone to feed the dog. Warg, sorry. I don't know actually.
He walks in, start chatting shit about Sauron, doesn't he? And then he's like, "Oh, where have you gone?" And then the Warg just happens to be there, and for me, the pain is still too real.
I'm heartbroken.
What do they sing? A lament for Waldrig.
I just love how they made him like the most gruesome death. Like you hear him screaming,
Mhm.
You can't do that to him. Why?
Hey, all I'm saying is we didn't see a body. There's still hope. There is
Ooh.
still hope. I'm like Carwin.
Right, I'm petitioning right
Yeah.
now. Come on, get it open, get it up. Waldrig's living. He's
Well,
not dying.
yeah, if the guy can beat up Sauron, he can survive a warg attack. That's all I'm saying.
So this is after, isn't it, that Adar's talking to Sauron about talking to Halbrand, sorry, about how he was formed. So he was one of 13 chosen by Morgoth to receive power.
Yeah.
And then he just randomly starts talking about after he gained the power. He remembers seeing Sauron and how good looking he is. He just saying how powerful he was, and just started romancing over him. And I don't get why they started doing that. And then and then he does this weird thing, doesn't he, where he starts kissing. Like he kneels down to his boots, and it looks like he's gonna kiss him. And he reveals a plan that the elves trust Halbrand already.
Mm-hmm.
So he's gonna go to Eregion. He's gonna convince the elves. He's gonna cause havoc there, and then that's how Adar's gonna come in and destroy and kill Gilgalad and Galadriel. And he just goes along with it. He's like, yeah, that's the plan. You go. But then he sends an orc to track him.
Yeah. I don't get it. Yeah, the bit where he said like, what does he say? Like kneel before me or something, or swear allegiance, like get on your knees. I was like, whoa.
Whoa.
Where are we going with this one?
Out in the open?
It's like Team America, isn't it? Where he says like he proved his loyalty to me by sucking my cock. Like
he just goes along with it, doesn't he? He's got no. This is him supposedly being in charge of the situation. He's manipulating. Why is he going through all of this?
So my prediction is Adar doesn't make it through the end of this series. He uses him for his own to his own ends, and he kills Adar with the crown, which is why we see Sauron holding said crown at the end, where he's sword fighting with Galadriel with it.
Yes,
that's going to be my prediction.
Yeah, 100%, because you see that they're both present at that battle, and they are rumored to have a fight scene together. So yeah, there's no way he's getting out of it. No chance.
But yeah, it was just weird to me how this was structured. There's a lot of examples in this episode, just how it was structured, how it was edited. Because yeah, you have the allegiance scene, and then I was thinking, right, so Adar lets Sauron go as per their agreement. But then the next scene, Waldrig walks in with like food, or he's like jeering Sauron, and then he's like, "Oh, where'd you go?" Like he wasn't made aware of this or something. And then it cuts to Sauron riding away with like a big shit-eating smirk on his face, and you can hear the haunting screams of our beloved Waldrig in the background. And then I thought, well, how they did that smirk, it's like Sauron escaped, like Adar hadn't come to a decision and he snuck away. But then he had a horse, and I was thinking, well, Adar probably gave him like provisions and stuff for his journey. I don't know, but I do know that the rest of season 2 will not be the same, because we can no longer look forward to our boy. But at least we got him for one episode, and in this one episode we can say that he beat the shit out of Sauron, and not many people in Middle-earth can say that. So
I'll tell you this, I'm not watching another episode again.
Yeah.
Until he's back. And yeah, he did what no one else could do.
Who beat Sauron harder? Was it Frodo or Waldrig? There's like a genuine, like that's a debate right there.
The thing is, Waldrig laid hands on him.
Exactly.
That man right there laid hands on Sauron. God rest you. Yeah, he battered him. God rest you, Waldrig, you legend.
We still need that. In honor of Waldrig, we need that video, please. I beg of you. Then yeah, okay. So then we cut back to the elves. And this is towards the end of the episode now, and Elrond shows up and he's really smug about things because he's like, the rings are in safe hands. Círdan's taken them away. But then Círdan came back. We saw the shot of him in a boat, and he was sailing away to then 180 degree. That's or 360. Right, 180, whatever.
Yeah.
He comes back home. He's like a boomerang. He fucks off and he fucks back. I don't understand.
Yeah, the time is just off within this whole episode.
Yeah,
because before that you have Galadriel and Elrond. They're arguing, aren't they? She wants the rings. He's like saying, "Oh, they're not good," and all that. And this is back at the Grey Havens,
yeah.
and there was a line that was straight out of fucking Mein Kampf. It was like Galadriel was saying that she wants to. Is it? God, what's the word? Coax. Oh, she said something. She wants to. I think it's like coerce Elrond out willingly, and then if not, then she'll send like Gil-galad will grab him or something like that. I'm like, my God, this is meant to be, Galadriel. She's meant to be the wise, the fairest. It's like the Gestapo wandering around, just awful. And she's talking to Elrond. She's not a good listener. She doesn't listen to Elrond at all. And they have the argument, and then she, like an ADHD kid, Elrond's talking and she just wanders off, just doesn't listen, notices that Círdan's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you see him out in the boat. And am I right? So he tries to throw the rings into the water.
Yeah.
And then the water like sort of punches the boat, like just reacts and like just throws hands. And instead of trying again, he just doesn't go through with the plan. He's like, all right, then I'm keeping them.
Yeah. It's weird to me how they're all kind of acting like these are the corrupted rings. They're acting like, as you said, like ADHD, almost like a junkie. They're like craving, and like Galadriel is literally giving chase on horseback and trying to reach and grab these rings so she can have them for herself. And they're all coveting these rings and everything. I get there might be a degree of that, but because they were made without Sauron's influence, I thought these rings were like A-okay. If Sauron gets a hold of them, he's still going to be more powerful and he'll still hold sway over them. But at this point, I thought these are just rings. It's the dwarven rings that will corrupt the dwarves. It's the rings of men, which is going to get referenced, by the way, this season, which we predicted it was based on the ending trailer. But they're just acting like really like whacked out about these rings, which I don't know. I don't know if that's how they should be acting about these things, but
no, because I think from memory, the Elven rings get created last, and they get created in secrecy by Celebrimbor. So Sauron doesn't have any influence over the Elven rings.
Yeah,
so that's why they are, they're not corruptible. But they completely got the order wrong. They decided to have Halbrand help out and to have them first. So I think they are spinning it that these rings are talking to them. You see the shot later on where the rings fall out the bag and it lands right next to Galadriel.
Slow motion, yeah.
Yeah. Although I think they changed a couple of the angles for that.
From the trailer?
Yeah. But yeah, I like you say, you've got Círdan is in the boat, and then the next scene they're in Eregion, and then he just randomly turns up at the perfect timing. Like and you get Halbrand later on. He's gone to Mordor, then he's gone from Mordor then to Lindon within the same episode.
Yeah, that's a great point. Why did he? Other than like we need an ending shot for season 1, why did he go back to Mordor?
Apparently for this plan to go to Adar.
Right, okay.
That was his plan.
But he's in like a black robe, wasn't he? He was decked out like a Sith.
Yeah.
He'd had a makeover and... Yeah, God, I don't know. The final shot of this episode did really make me laugh. So they hold all the rings together, and it magically makes all the trees instantly grow back. And I'm like, I know the rings are powerful, but I don't know if they have that kind of power. That seemed a little bit strange to me. Seemed a bit out there. But as I mentioned earlier, the three rings were present together in the same location. I don't know why they didn't have some kind of magical effect at this point. But then they hold this shot, this really awkward shot where all three of them have their hands in the middle, and they have to hold it for such a long time that you can see the actor's hands kind of shaking.
Yeah.
and it's really awkward, and the camera pans away. I'm like, so we're just gonna stand here. It reminds me of the end of Force Awakens where Rey holds the lightsaber out to Luke, and she's just holding it. And it cuts to him, and it cuts to her, and it cuts to the wide shot as the helicopter pans around them, and she's still just stood there holding this thing out. It's like, can you pick it up? My arm's getting tired now.
Yeah.
It was so embarrassing, like that final shot, and you can tell the filmmakers just think that it's really like quality shit.
Yeah.
And it's oh god,
it's shit, all right.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that. Like, with the rings looked awful, looked like something out of a Haribo packet. We did predict something though, that the rings will heal the trees.
Yeah, but you predicted it in a much more sensical way than how
I think
turned out in this, because earlier on, Gil Galad's like, hell yeah, let's keep these rings. And he's had no proof of what these rings can do. Whereas you suggested, oh, they're going to show that the rings have power and that it's going to bring life to the tree. And that is going to be the thing that convinces Gil Galad. Gil Galad was already convinced at the beginning. Like when Galadriel showed up, he didn't need proof. He was just like, yep, these rings are the bee's knees. Let's keep them.
Yeah.
No bad thing can happen. And it's only at the end of the episode when life is brought back to the place. It would make much more sense to me to do it how you thought it was going to go down. How he oh, wow, okay, these rings have brought life back to this. Imagine what these three rings could do for the rest of Elvendom and the Free Peoples of Middle-earth. Maybe these rings are a good idea. That would make more sense. That would give him, agency in what he wants to do.
100%. And again, we shape it up as Elrond's not happy. He shouts like, no. I love how actually the fact that Elrond's disobeyed the High King Gil-galad, so he's ran off.
Yeah.
So he's disobeyed an order. He should be imprisoned at this point. But no, he's allowed to wander freely. He's just chilling, despite Gil-galad's command of him to give the rings back. He's facing no punishment. What's the point of threatening and building up the stakes of, he's going to be in big trouble if he doesn't listen? He's just there, allowed to protest. And again, he's the most sensible one there, and no one listens.
Yeah.
It's awful. Awful writing, man. Awful.
And then I guess the last scene we need to talk about, I think it probably cut to him earlier on, but we may as well just include both scenes here. Halbrand shows up to Celebrimbor's gaff. That's where we end the episode on.
With that OAP. In these fucking hell. And they're doing a bromance between these two.
I can't wait till we get to that scene where he's sobbing. Like that image. Yeah, that scene. I'm gonna laugh my ass off at that scene.
But we've seen with his new apprentice, who's I forgot the name.
More powerful, yeah.
Who's probably going to take over when he kicks it. She's going to be great.
Medania? Was that the one?
One of them. I think they just pick it randomly.
He's going to have another two, isn't he?
Yeah. These are just these, he's the Playboy mansion. This is, and so he's talking to his apprentice. Then a letter comes through. No, not a letter. Sorry. So I don't know at this point that he knows that it's Sauron or not, because Gil-galad had meant to have sent a letter to Celebrimbor. But timeline-wise, that really fucks it up because then Halbrand must have spent ages traveling to Mordor to travel back to Eregion. Yet the timeline within Lindon is that they've just found out. No, so they create the rings, then they find out that it's Sauron. So then they send a letter to Celebrimbor. So within that point, Halbrand's gone to Mordor and back. That doesn't make sense time-wise.
Yeah. Well, this was a thing that was in season 1 as well. Geographical distance just doesn't mean a damn thing anymore. The whole world just feels so small. People can just show up in places. It was like the bit where it was in season 1 where I think the volcano had just gone off. Halbrand was poisoned somehow. I just remember that, and Galadriel rides back from what I assume was essentially Mordor and heads back, and it's all in the space of like one episode or like a scene. We have the Númenóreans, which I can't get over, setting sail and then showing up pretty much near Mordor within a day.
Yeah, it's really bad. It's just, hey, we've only got this amount of episodes. They don't care about time. Let's just chuck him in.
Says as Taralenian says, Tolkien, the famous Celebrimbor, heroic defender of Eregion in the Second Age war against Sauron. Amazon.
Yeah. Well, he gives this weird look at the end of the episode. So the news comes in that there's a guy from the Southlands that's come in and he's requesting him, Celebrimbor. So he goes out and you see Halbrand. He's not even changed his guise. He is basically Halbrand. I don't know how he's been allowed in Eregion. How no one's clocked him. Have they not got any border forces? Anyone can just wander freely within it. So he wanders in, no change of disguise. And Celebrimbor, because the apprentice asks, what shall we do with him? Now he gives this look as if, does he know? He knows who Halbrand is.
It seems like I got the impression that he does know who he is. I'm sure we'll find out next episode, but based on how the actor played that scene and the look and how it lingered on it, I got the impression that he knew who it was.
Yeah. Or it could be his Alzheimer's. But it looked dodgy. And you see that scene in the trailer where you see him like chuck him into the room, like try to hide him away.
Yeah.
So who knows? But again, we're getting a bromance between these two that's not been developed. And no one really cares about. Who's getting excited over Celebrimbor and Sauron now?
You can tell that the writers are going to be so proud of themselves for all of that. They're going to be so proud of the deception that they've crafted for how Sauron's worked, with Adar, and how he's setting this thing up and he's going to ultimately destroy it. You can tell they're going to be so proud of that, and it's so basic. Like, none of it's like well thought out or like a massive twist or anything like that. It's so ham-fisted how they've done it.
Yeah, they'll bypass it. There'll be one line of dialogue and then it's never mentioned again.
Yeah. Oh, Bath Time, I'm sorry, man. Bath Time says, oh my god, I've just finished the first episode and I'm absolutely furious. Waldrig was the best thing in the entire series. I know Waldrig was all we had, and
we all grieving in our own way. It's tough, Bath Time. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
I will not say do not weep, for not all tears are weep. Death is just another path, one that we all must take.
Yeah, and Waldrig battered him.
I think he's going to get sent back until his task is done.
Yes.
Come back as Waldrig the White. He'll have like a slightly neater beard.
Oh, wait. Can you see a world where Adar sees him and he's like on near death door and he somehow turns him into an orc?
Yeah.
Or somehow like turns him into an Uruk-hai. Can you imagine that? An Uruk.
Yeah.
I want that to happen, please.
Or Waldrig as he was meant to be. Yes. I need that so much. Bathslime says Elrond recreating the fugitive scene. Yeah, I know, that was dumb. I'm surprised Lenny Henry didn't join in a Baywatch.
Oh, God.
Well, he just turned into a Force ghost at the end of the last series, didn't he, Lenny Henry? He just kind of sat there and became one with the Force
Yeah.
or some shit. I don't know.
He just fell asleep and died.
It's like, I feel you, Lenny. Yeah, we're all there as well at that point. Tara Lenian says this is referring to the Astari. In Lord of the Rings, all the Astari came in the Third Age, 1,000 years into the Third Age. And in other writings, they have the Blue Wizards coming about the Second Age, 1,600. Yeah, I thought there were two different versions. I guess at that point, you've got to go with Lord of the Rings, haven't you? I guess that's like the canon one, I suppose. Brinsley says, "Sup, lads? I haven't caught the first episode yet as I'm traveling. How was it?" And he says, "I joined at a good time, I see." I think that message came through right when I did the Team America quote about sucking cock. So, yeah, welcome, Brinsley. You joined just at the right time. Also, are they doing weekly episodes or have they released the whole season? They've released pretty much a third of it already. So 3 episodes are out at the moment, 3-episode premiere. And then it's just going to be weekly from here on in. We're just talking about episode 1 right now because there is no way on God's earth that we could have watched 3 today, let alone talk about 3. We're coming up to 2 hours. We've just done episode 1. So, yeah. But that's it. That's Bath Time says that he thought Círdan was a good actor, though. I still think Gil-galad looked like something out of the League of Gentlemen.
Yeah,
there is something. Yeah, we've mentioned that there is something off about Gil-galad, but I like what I've seen with Círdan so far.
same.
Pretty okay.
I could honestly say that his scenes were the scenes that I enjoyed the most. I thought the music was beautiful and the shots were beautiful. I did enjoy his scenes. I have to admit that. But have you got any? What's your overall review, thoughts, feelings of episode 1?
My 2 positives, other than, well, Círdan's one of them, I suppose, if I was going to give them anything. Like, don't get me wrong, he ain't blowing me away or anything like that, but, like, I just think, if I speak as I find, I didn't think he was that bad. And the actor who plays Adar, you mentioned at the beginning, I think, yeah, he's kind of jumped straight into that, and I don't think many people will notice that the actor's changed. I think that the character's, pretty standard at the moment. They're kind of my biggest positives. The only thing, you mentioned the soundtrack. I can't really remember any of the soundtrack. The one motif that I could remember was that Gollum song sounding one that closed out season 1. Like, I guess Sauron's theme, I guess you could argue it is for this season. And that drifted in and out, and I remembered that, and I thought that was quite effective. So that's kind of it. Everything else, it's just doubling down on stuff that we've seen in season 1. So I will say that whilst I'm getting fired up during this review, and there's loads of things that really annoy me, and like Galadriel's character and everything, still none of it quite aggressively hit me as hard as when I barreled straight into season 1, because I was really, really angry about that one. This one, you kind of know what you're getting in for. We're 8 episodes into season 1. We know exactly what we're getting. We've seen all the trailers. We've followed some of the behind the scenes. We basically know where this series is going, and we know that it ain't getting any better. So I'm just kind of watching this and being entertained at how incompetent it is. So I feel like I've reached a state of like zen and oneness with the Rings of Power. I look forward to talking about it with you and doing these reviews. And I am kind of curious to see how they're going to mess up episodes 2 and 3. So guess you could call it hate watching, call it what you want, but I'd say it killed an hour. It felt like 3, but yeah. So is it quality TV? Absolutely not. Even if you take Tolkien's name off it, which I've mentioned before, I try to do, and I try and watch this as just, this is a fantasy TV show. I think it's still really bad. The writing is abysmal. The acting's not great. The costumes are laughable. And it's just completely nonsensical. And as a Tolkien adaptation, don't even get me started. So yeah, it's still bad, and it's probably going to get worse. But I do find a weird sense of enjoyment watching these week to week, I guess.
I don't know why this episode annoyed me more.
Mm-hmm.
I was quite annoyed with it because just before it. So in season 1, all the showrunners and the shill media that are behind this show have all said how great it is, and you're just bitter. And then for some reason, like a week before this dropped, it was saying that it's returning to form. It's, Galadriel's going to be more, wise and laid back, and they're going to learn from their mistakes. So I was like, hold on, okay. It's going to be a more gruesome Middle Earth. It's going to be better. So, okay. And we knew it was bullshit because we broke down the trailers and spent hours talking about how shit it looks. And we predicted a lot of stuff that happened. And them being so dishonest and keeping the same stuff, Galadriel not changing, not being responsible, getting away with everything because the showrunners, she can't go wrong, because if she looks wrong or does anything wrong, then it appears that she's weak.
Yeah.
Making Halbrand just so piss poor, just so weak. Him and Elrond, I'll stick them in the same category. Elrond's presence is lackluster. He's nothing in the show, and he's meant to be one of the big players. And Halbrand, trying to make him sympathetic, he's not. That's one of the things that you mentioned, and I agree. With Lord of the Rings, you kind of do have like the good and the bad. There's a split. Yeah, you have some characters that mix. You got Gollum, who's can be either way, and it's tragic with his storyline how it goes. But with Sauron, he's evil. He's pure evil. I don't get why they're trying to go along the line that he can be redeemed, and that, I don't know. And they already ruined a lot of their plot points from season 1. So for me, this show's not savable. I didn't like this episode one bit. I thought it was rubbish. I didn't mind Círdan. I thought it was the best part of it. And I thought the music, there was a nice piece of music where when Elrond was speaking to Galadriel. I enjoyed that. And Círdan at the Grey Havens, I thought that was nice music. Apart from that, yeah, wasn't great. Very bad editing, very bad directing, very poor start. And if I was going to give it a rating out of 10, I'd probably give it a 3. I feel like that's too high.
I think that's generous. Yeah, but yeah, no, I'd probably be around then 2 or 3 or something like that. Yeah, it's just oh, we know it's going to get so much worse. We know all the things that are to come. And yeah, we've got 2 more episodes out at the moment, which we will endeavor to get watched within the next couple of days. And we'll be going live on Saturday. I'll be posting times for that, and everything's probably going to be around the same time. Maybe a little bit earlier if we can, because we're talking 2 episodes. If we can get on earlier, but we'll have a chat about times anyway. Just go through the last few comments, and I guess we'll round off. So Bath Time says, apart from Waldrig, I thought it was far better than last series, even with Venom Sauron rolling about on a mountain, which was so insane. Yeah, it was certainly. Yeah, I didn't expect to see that in this episode. Well, I didn't expect to see that in anything Lord of the Rings related, to be honest. But there we go. Brinsley says, well, I'll be caught up by next time, so I'm not as lost. Sounds like the final stage of depression, acceptance. Yeah, I feel like that's where I've reached. There in Star Wars. So I think Red Letter Media said it like, how does it feel to see all of your favorite franchises just go down in flames? It's so good. Bath Time, only way to redeem it is put Waldrig as the Argon. Yes.
Do it. You shills, do it.
Brinsley says, I will always try and look for the positives, and I enjoy catching the streams too. No, thanks, man. I appreciate that. And yeah, I've been called bitter a lot. I've been called a lot of worse things than that too. And maybe they're right. Who knows? But like, I will mention positives as and when they come, but like, there's a degree of positives with this. It's still not all great, but you just have to kind of find like the best of a bad bunch. But you know what? I'm going to try and make that my mission. No matter how difficult it is, I'm going to try and find at least one. I can't guarantee 2. I'm going to try and find at least one positive per episode all the way through season 2. I'm going to try my damnedest, okay? I'm going to see if I can stick to that. Mythic Dawn says, Lord dem rangs. Yeah, they may as well call it that. Bath Time, one issue you tend to get with TV over books is the main character tends not to change. It's the side characters, and you can... Oh, hang on. You get with TV over books is the main character tends not to change. Oh, I disagree with that. No, there's some compelling TV shows where if it's written well, they can still develop. And Beth Time says, I loved seeing the Grey Havens again. Yeah, there are a few nice panoramic shots of the cities in this one, like Linden and the Grey Havens. Yeah, I like that. Brinsley says, I meant grief, not depression, but these weekly streams seem like therapy. Yeah, we always say it, and they absolutely are. It's just good to, you store all this up when you watch it for an hour, and then you can just
let it out.
SeaWorld Man says, show off that box. It's big. Are we talking this box? Well, SeaWorld Man, you can see a video of me holding that very big box if you like. No, I'm kidding. On my channel, it was an unboxing video I did. It's Sauron's mace. It just came in a very, very fucking big box because it's a big weapon. But I did an unboxing video of it. You can find it on my channel, dude. I think it was the last one that I did. It was from earlier this year. Brinsley says, it ended doesn't count as a positive too. Oh, damn it. You stole my one for episode 2. Well, we'll find out. So we're going to be watching episode 2 and episode 3 very shortly. And we'll be on a review on Saturday. So we'll be all caught up. We'll have updates for the following week because I know we'll have a chat about that as well because we're going to try and find a day where we can do it. But I think we're going to round it off there. We're coming up just shy of 2 hours, and oh my god, it's getting on towards midnight. Dude, thank you so much for giving 2 hours of your time again tonight. Really appreciate it. Helping with these streams, and yeah, I think it's going to be a good season of discussions, and it's always fun chatting about it with you. So if we just want to mention where people can find your channel and what you've got coming up.
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube and Instagram at Everything in Middle Earth. Currently reviewing the Rings of Power. So for the next couple of weeks, we'll be diving deep into the show on your channel, and then I'll be doing about 10 to 20 minute worth episode reviews, which has really tanked this week because of them dropping 3 episodes straight away, which I think they did that on purpose, but so it'll be doing that, and then after the Rings of Power, it'll be doing the War of the Rohirrim. But I would like to do a history video based on the War of Erebor during the War of the Ring. I'd like to do a history video on that because I think it's a really, really good story. So I'll probably be working on that after. But yeah, that's all that I've got in the pipeline. But thank you so much for having me on. I always love coming on to the stream and, seeing Bath Time and some of the regulars in the chat. It's always great. And I know you'll be upset over Waldrig. I am too.
We all will.
We all are. But just take comfort that he beat up Sauron. But I loved it, mate, and yeah, we'll be seeing each other again. Absolutely. Whether a lot more angrier or a lot more calmer, who knows? But we'll see each other again on Saturday. But thank you so much for having me on, mate.
No, to quote Bilbo, you are welcome here anytime, Matt. You always know that. And yeah, I think this season is going to be a whole roller coaster of emotions. I think we're going to go through all of them. So stay tuned for that, definitely. And yeah, head on over to Everything in Middle Earth channel. Give them a subscribe. Loads of great videos. I'm going to check out your episode review on this as well. Much more shorter than these ones because this is just us, getting it all out there. But yeah, I'll be watching your review on that as well. And I'll be keeping an eye out for that Erebor video because that is one of my favorite little side stories, the King Brand and the Easterlings. So yeah, looking forward to seeing that. That'll be cool. If you haven't done so already, I know a lot of people in the comments have done so tonight. And thank you to everyone who's tuned in all the way throughout the stream and kept the conversation going. This is why we love doing this. And I love getting the interaction with you guys too. Let me know your thoughts on the Rings of Power, episode 1. Are you on board with this series now, or do you think it's more of the same, or maybe you really enjoyed it? We're open to all different opinions here. Just because I'm a Debbie Downer on it all the time doesn't mean that you have to be. So if you liked it, sound off, and do subscribe to my channel as well for more movie reviews, discussions, and live streams. As Everything in Middle Earth mentioned, we're going to be covering this whole series, probably a bunch of other videos too, especially in the lead up to War of the Rohirrim. But I will be going live again tomorrow with Dale to review Attack of the Clones. So me and Dale went to see Phantom Menace 25th anniversary a couple of months ago, and now they've decided to just put all the Star Wars films on, which I'm totally okay with. So we'll be watching the prequels and then the original trilogy, and then I am tapping out after that. I'm not watching the sequels. So there will be 6 Star Wars reviews going up and Attack of the Clones tomorrow, and then of course we'll be going live this Saturday as well for the remaining 2 episodes of the Rings of Power premiere. So thank you to everyone who tuned in tonight. You guys are awesome. Stay safe, and we'll hopefully catch you on Saturday for more Rings of Power. Take care, everyone.